Jenny was locked in a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it. But how? She put the orange on one person's head. A notorious bad guy caught wealthy businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I'll leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to the office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse had been invited to a party. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said that he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said he remembered seeing one visitor heading to the office. Somehow he ignored it and didn't stop them. The waiter got arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant wasn't open yet. There could be no visitors. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were 2 conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen, then she poured the juice on top of it. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents, a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. James was a famous detective who could crack even the hardest cases. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water, but quite dusty. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The bad guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Jane was walking home late. She was pretty tired, so she decided to take a bus. It was midnight. but the bus was packed with people. You get a gut feeling later that there's something wrong with some of these people. Who's a zombie? There are 20 people on the bus. There are 2 zombies among them. A man on the right has a bit of a bandage on his arm, and the woman next to the window seems to be groaning all the time. All the people in town thought Jack wasn't smart enough. Every time somebody offered him a 50c coin or a $1 bill, he would always choose the 50c coin. Many people every day would offer him to do it, but he never grabbed the bill. Why was Jack smart? Jack was actually pretty smart because he would get money without doing anything. As long as he agreed to get less money for no reason, people would come and try his trick again and again. See that car? Jack's been refusing $1 bills for over 10 years now, so he saved up enough money to get a car.
Emery was on the expedition and finally found an old cave where pirates used to leave their treasures. However, there are 4 chests, but only one had the gold. If Emery touches the wrong one, she'll get locked in the cave forever. The first chest said, "The treasure is in chest 2 or chest 4." The second one said, "It's in chest 1 or chest 3." The third chest says, "It's in here." The fourth one said, "It's not in here." However, only one of these statements was true. So which chest should Emery pick? If the treasure is in the first chest, statements 2 and 4 are correct. However, there should only be one correct one. If it's in the second chest, the first one and the fourth one are true. If it's in the third chest, then 2 statements are true, the second and third. So Emery should pick the fourth chest. This way, only the first statement is correct and the treasure is in the fourth one. Detective Callum was in a bank and heard 2 women arguing. Mrs. Lewis and Mrs. Clark were both claiming that a handbag was theirs. Luckily, one young man took a picture of the waiting room just before the argument. So take a look and tell who the handbag belongs to. The handbag stands right between the women. However, Mrs. Lewis has a cast, and the bag stands next to her broken arm. If it was her handbag, she would put it on the other side of her, so the bag must belong to Mrs. Clark. Nick and Collins were traveling by train, and they were leaving at the same station. Collins stood up first and got his bag. But when Nick got his bag, he opened it and realized it wasn't his. So he accused Collins of trying to steal his bag. However, Collins says it was just an accident, because the bags looked exactly the same. Still, Nick didn't believe it was an accident. Take a look inside their bags and try to guess why. Collins' bag is only filled with a couple of plush toys, while Nick's bag had electronics and many books. Collins couldn't take Nick's bag by accident because even though they're similar, their weight is too different, and he'd noticed that. In the morning, Mrs. Miller was wrapping Christmas presents for her family. She left to take a shower when she was done, but the gifts were gone when she returned. She went downstairs and asked her family who took the presents, but everyone denied taking them. Her husband said that he was watching TV the whole morning and didn't even get up. Her daughter, Amanda, said that she forgot about the laundry hanging outside last night, so she was out picking it up. Her other daughter, Jane, said that she was in the kitchen eating. Can you tell who lied? It was Amanda. Her laundry is perfectly folded and dry, but it's cold outside and the laundry would be all frozen if she just picked it up. Mason was arrested for robbing a bank. The police knew that his girlfriend helped him and wanted to arrest her too. They had 4 suspects. One of them was the girlfriend who was lying. Another was his sister, who didn't rob the bank, but was also lying because she wanted to help. The other 2 girls were innocent and were telling the truth. So who is Mason's girlfriend? Selena says Amelia is his girlfriend. Felicia says Penelope is lying. Penelope says Selena is lying. Amelia says Felicia is not his sister. If Selena is telling the truth, Amelia is lying. Then Felicia is his sister who's lying. Therefore, Penelope is telling the truth. It contradicts that Selena is telling the truth. So, Selena is lying. Then, Penelope is telling the truth, and Felicia is lying. So, Amelia must be the other girl telling the truth. Two liars are Selena and Felicia. They are Mason's girlfriend and sister. Since Amelia says Felicia isn't his sister, then Selena is his sister and Felicia is his girlfriend. Archer was watching TV when he got a call. Detective Callum said that his friend George was poisoned and asked to come. Archer arrived as soon as he could and was immediately arrested for poisoning his friend. Why? The detective didn't say where exactly to come. Maybe coming to his friend's house could be logical, but they are in some park. How would Archer know where to come if he didn't know what happened? A postman called Detective Callum and said someone needed help and gave the address. The detective arrived and found Mr. Hanks tied to a chair. Mr. Hanks said that he had been sitting there for several hours. Someone broke into his house at night, tied him up, and stole all of his money. His wife was outside the city. When the postman brought the mail in the morning, he asked for help. However, Detective Callum didn't believe the man and said that he staged it. Why didn't he believe Mr. Hanks? The letters the postman just brought don't lie on the floor by the door. Instead, they're on the shelf, where only someone who is inside the house could put it. If Mr. Hanks sat there tied up all night and was alone, it'd stay on the floor.
Now let's peek inside a restaurant. Which of the three girls is on a date? It's this one. Look, there are roses and two sets of dishes on the table. So she's not alone, and it's something romantic. My money is on her. This is Allison, and one of these three young men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's this one. Look, they have matching tattoos. Take a look at these two proposals. Which one of them is fake? This one. Look, the guy has a ring. He's clearly already married. It was Friday evening, and Mark was waiting for his girlfriend to get back from work. He prepared dinner and was about to propose. His girlfriend came back home with flowers. Do you think she was on a date with someone? No, she wasn't. Look outside. The same flowers grow in their garden. She just picked some before entering the house. On Valentine's Day, Annika found a love note on her desk. Unfortunately, the note wasn't signed, but she had 3 suspects. So she asked each of them if they had written her a note. Dylan said, "I was busy finishing my math homework before class." Connor said, "I was hanging out with my buddies outside." And Luke said, "I was in the bathroom and I just returned." Who wrote Annika the letter? It was Luke. Look, his hands are covered in red ink. That's the color used in the letter. Also, if he had really been to the bathroom, his hands would be clean. On Valentine's Day, Jess found a note in her locker. But the note was weird. It was just a sequence of random letters. Or was it some code? Can you help Jess read the note and figure out who sent it to her? Of course it's a code. Look, There are 5 groups of letters with 5 letters in each group. Let's put them into a 5 by 5 table. And now, we need to read this vertically, column by column. Will you go out with me, Colton? So where's that Colton? Michelle was hosting a Valentine's Day party. She invited all her school friends, and everyone was allowed to bring a +1. Either their significant other or a single friend. In the middle of the party, she noticed that her cousin was in the garden talking to some girl, but it was dark and she couldn't tell which girl it was. She just saw that the girl had long hair. When her cousin returned, she knew immediately who he was interested in. Here are 3 girls with long hair. Who was outside with Michelle's cousin? Look, Michelle's cousin has a lipstick stain. The girl must have left it, and this girl right here is wearing lipstick of the same shade. On a cold, rainy night, Damon was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there waiting for their bus. An elderly lady who looked sick, a doctor who had saved many lives, and Addison, a girl Damon had a crush on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for one more person in his car. What should Damon do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would then take the lady to the hospital. And Damon can stay at the bus stop waiting for the bus with the girl of his dreams. Looking like a hero in her eyes.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break now. Have you seen any romantic movies? Well, I hope so, because I'll be showing you some emojis, and your task will be to guess what romantic movie they stand for. Okay, here's the first very easy one. Of course, that's Titanic. Here's the next one. Nothing much, but it should be clear. Do you know this movie? It's The Notebook. What about this one? A relatively recent remake was a great success. Can you recognize it? It's A Star is Born. Here's the next one. Do you think you can guess it right? It's Before Sunrise. The next set of emojis illustrates another very well-known love story. Can you guess it right? It's La La Land, of course. Here's the last one. It's an oldie but a goodie. What do you think? Everyone's favorite, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey.
Mr. Carter, a rich man who collected antiques, asked Detective Morris to visit him. When the detective arrived, the collector said, "I've just got a precious statuette, but I need to go away on business for a week, and I'm afraid someone will break into my house. My neighbors are so suspicious." Of course, the statuette is insured, but still. Detective Morris had some other urgent things to do. He promised to come back in the evening to figure out how to deal with the situation. But when he arrived several hours later, Mr. Carter rushed to him. "I was away for an hour, no more. I drove my sister to the doctor, but when I came back, the statuette was gone." Detective Morris didn't believe the collector. Why? When he left the house in the afternoon, he noticed an apple lying in front of the left part of the gate. It's still there. But for a car to drive through, both parts of the gate have to be open. This means that Mr. Carter lied about leaving his home by car. A man with a bandage around his head came to a police station. "I was hitchhiking when the car stopped. The driver asked me to check if one of the tires was flat. I bent over to look, and he hit me on the head. When I came to my senses, I found out he had taken all my money and cell phone. I remember he had a big car, large eyebrows, and a mustache. The police had a suspect. They found him in a cafe. But the man said it couldn't be him. He changed the tires on his car 2 weeks ago, and since then, the car had been parked near the cafe. The detective realized the man was lying right away. How? There's a no parking sign near the cafe. No car could be staying there for 2 weeks. Mr. and Mrs. Williams had to go on a business trip. It was a sudden and urgent matter. They didn't have time to take the money they had to the bank. That's why they decided to hide it under the doormat. When they returned, the money was gone. 3 people visited the apartment while the owners were away. The Williams' neighbor, he helped them fix the TV. A housekeeper came to clean the apartment, and an electrician visited to deal with some lighting problems. Who took the money? It was the housekeeper. She was the only person who had any reason to look under the doormat. Laura took part in an experiment. She was locked in a room and had to crack a riddle to get out of it. On the table, she found a note with the numbers 11, 69, 96, and 88. The girl needed to figure out what they had in common. Can you do the same? All these numbers can be read in the same way if you position them upside down. A man on a motorbike crashed Mr. Ruby's store window, grabbed a dozen expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe this story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. Look at these 2 girls and their fridges. One of them has never had enough money until recently. A month ago, she won the lottery. Which girl is that? It's the girl on the left. High heels, a flashy dress, and a fridge filled to the brim. She looks like a person who has finally managed to get their hands on big money. Look at these people lounging near a swimming pool. They all seem to be wealthy, but in fact, only one of them is a millionaire. The girl sitting under the palm tree is wearing a lot of gold jewelry. But all this gold is fake. It leaves greenish marks on her body. The girl walking past the swimming pool is wearing sandals with a large logo on them. But the name of this brand is written wrong, so it's fake. The guy who's lying on the floating mattress is playing a game on his phone. But instead of an apple, there's a strawberry on his gadget. The man who's watering the plants is the millionaire we're looking for. There's a Mercedes keychain hanging out of his pocket. He also left a $100 tip for the waiter.
Fiona left her husband a shopping list for him to go to the supermarket. These guys are really into riddles, so the list was full of them. Fiona wanted Mark to buy something that has eyes but can't see, something that has ears but can't hear, and the wealthiest nuts. What did Fiona want Mark to buy? Fiona needed some potatoes, corn, and cashews. Jenny was locked in a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it. But how? she put the orange on one person's head. A notorious bad guy caught wealthy businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I'll leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to the office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse had been invited to a party. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said that he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said he remembered seeing one visitor heading to the office. Somehow he ignored it and didn't stop them. The waiter got arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant wasn't open yet. There could be no visitors. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were 2 conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen, then she poured the juice on top of it. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents: a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. James was a famous detective who could crack even the hardest cases. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water, but quite dusty. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The bad guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Jane was walking home late. She was pretty tired, so she decided to take a bus. It was midnight, but the bus was packed with people. You get a gut feeling later that there's something wrong with some of these people. Who's a zombie? There are 20 people on the bus. There are 2 zombies among them. A man on the right has a bit of a bandage on his arm, and the woman next to the window seems to be groaning all the time. All the people in town thought Jack wasn't smart enough. Every time somebody offered him a 50c coin or a $1 bill, he would always choose the 50c coin. Many people every day would offer him to do it, but he never grabbed the bill. Why was Jack smart? Jack was actually pretty smart because he would get money without doing anything. As long as he agreed to get less money for no reason, people would come and try his trick again and again. See that car? Jack's been refusing $1 bills for over 10 years now, so he saved up enough money to get a car. You find yourself in a photo gallery. After looking at the wall, you realize that one of the pictures doesn't belong. You see a raccoon, a llama, a football, and a balloon. Can you tell which is the odd one out? You have 7 seconds to guess. It's the llama picture. The other 3 objects have 2 double letters in their names, but the llama only has 1 double. And trust me, don't get too close to the llama. They might spit in your face. It's not fun. You have 3 matches. Can you make a 6 out of them without breaking them into pieces? Who said the number 5 has to be a standard 6? The matches made a perfect Roman numeral 3 right from the get-go. So all you have to do is bring the bottoms of the first 2 matches toward each other, and you've got a Roman numeral 6. It's your first day in the new office. Some colleagues don't seem really friendly, and you can't understand why. They also act strange, never have coffee breaks, and work at least 12 hours a day. A secretary at the reception desk, Lauren, tells that their company hires robots sometimes because they work harder than people and aren't addicted to coffee. She also says to stay away from them and try not to talk to them or even greet them because they can be unpredictable sometimes. It's quite easy to tell who's a robot. Can you guess who's a robot among these 3 people? Anna, Mike, and Lucy? It's Mike. He's the only one among 3 people who have a switch on the right.
Look at the picture. How many squares do you see? A. 10. B. 5. C. 3. D. 6. You're right. There are 10 squares. You're supposed to count all the colors. Stephen had a dream of becoming a successful geologist and traveling the world. That's why he took a very difficult test and answered all the questions correctly. Professor Smith said he had one final question for Stephen. If the guy answered it correctly, he'd go on an exciting mountain expedition the following week. Mount Everest was discovered in 1852, but what was the highest mountain in the world before that? The next week, Stephen was proudly walking in the mountains with his colleagues. What did he say to the professor? Stephen said it was Mount Everest. It was still the highest mountain in the world, even though it hadn't been discovered yet. Jenny worked as a cleaning lady at a museum. Once, she found a beautiful diamond ring on a sink while she was cleaning the ladies' room. 3 people showed up to claim it. Tyler said he hadn't seen the ring after visiting the bathroom. He needed to get it back to propose to his girlfriend. Kelly showed Jenny a tan line on her finger and said it was her engagement ring. Leah just asked whether there was an engraving on the inside of the ring. Jenny decided that the ring belonged to Leah. Why? Kelly's tan line was on the wrong finger. Tyler wouldn't have been allowed into the ladies' room, and Leah was the only one who knew the ring had an engraving. Susie entered an elevator and pressed the 7th floor where she lived. Suddenly, the elevator got stuck between floors. Susie got anxious and hit the emergency button. The operator said, "I'll restart the elevator, but first, you have to solve my riddle." "What can you hold without touching it?" he asked. 1 minute later, Susie was on her floor. What did she say to the operator? breath. You can hold it without using your hands. It belongs to your friend, but you use it way more than them. What is it? That's right, it's your friend's name. Alice was walking in a field and suddenly saw a white rabbit. She took a picture of the animal. Suddenly, the rabbit said, "Hey, I can show you where the treasures are hidden." Alice got very excited, but then her friend called her and the rabbit ran away. When Alice returned to the field the next day, she saw 9 rabbits. They all kept silent. Can you help Alice find the right rabbit? It's over there, in the right corner. What substance is there in each mug? 1. It's not sugar or water. 2. It's not sugar or tea. 3. It's not tea or water. The first mug contains tea. The second mug contains water. And the third mug is full of sugar. Gemma overslept and arrived at her office an hour later than usual. She found a beautiful bouquet of roses on her table. Gemma got very excited when she saw a postcard tucked among the flowers. She reached for it and accidentally pricked her finger on a thorn. The card said the flowers were from a secret admirer. Gemma looked attentively at her 3 colleagues. Serge was on the phone. Will was printing out some documents. He winked at the girl, and Peter was making coffee. He offered Gemma to join him. At that moment, Gemma understood who had sent her the bouquet. How? It was Serge. He had a fresh scratch left by a thorn on his finger. Rotate it 90 degrees, and it's everything. Cut it in half, and it's nothing. What is it? When you cut 8 in half, it turns into 2 zeros. If you place it on the side, 8 turns into the infinity symbol. The more it dries, the wetter it gets. What is it? It's a towel. Tim loved his girlfriend Christy very much, so he went to a tattoo artist to get her name tattooed on his arm. But the artist turned out to be a crazy scientist. He used Tim's DNA to create 2 evil clones. When Christy came to the tattoo parlor to pick Tim up, she saw 3 identical guys. Help Christy determine which Tim is the real one. The guy on the left is the real Tim. He's the only one who has a tattoo. The clones aren't supposed to have any. How many months of the year have 28 days? All 12 months. Look at the picture. Which one is different? It's A. The color that should be at the top is at the bottom. Helen was a famous singer. When she was applying her makeup in the dressing room, her agent called her. He said that her song had become the main hit of the year. Helen told her assistant, Nick, "Hurry up, bring my best friend Lisa here. I want to celebrate." Nick came out of the dressing room and saw a crowd of fans in front of him. All of them wanted to get Helen's autograph. Nick asked, "Which one of you is Lisa?" Each girl claimed she was Lisa. Help Nick to identify the real Lisa. The real Lisa is wearing a necklace with the left half of the heart on her neck. It matches the one Helen is wearing.
Are you ready to train your brain with the help of these tricky brain teasers? Then let's get started. Look at these ladies and try to figure out who's not very smart. Even though the first woman looks as if she's about to touch a hot iron, the device is actually unplugged, so she won't hurt herself. The second lady, though, is about to touch a heated waffle maker. Oh no! John's parachute hasn't opened, and he's now plunging toward the ground. Does he have higher chances of survival if he falls into a lake or on a haystack? He should try to fall on a haystack. Do you see crocodiles hiding near the shore of the lake? What do you think is more dangerous in this situation? A bear or a swarm of bees? Look, the bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to you. But bees seem to be angry. They'll most likely go after you. Look at these people. Who's most likely to survive? The man hanging over the fire? A woman tied over a barrel filled with toxic liquid? Or this guy swinging over a field of sharp needles? The woman hanging over the barrel with toxic liquid is the one who will survive. Look, there's a hole in the barrel, and the liquid is leaking out of it. The woman just needs to wait until the barrel is empty and untie herself. To get out of the locked room, Jeremy had to crack this puzzle. 1 equals 5, 2 equals 15, 3 equals 215, 4 equals 3215, 4 equals 3215, 5 equals... What number is hidden under the question mark? It's 1. 5 equals 1 because 1 equals 5. But the door of the room still didn't open. Apparently, Jeremy had to solve another riddle. He had to arrange 4 nines in such a way that they were equal to 100. He could use any math symbols. How can the guy do it? Jeremy figured out the correct answer pretty fast. 99 plus 9 divided by 9 equals 100. You're crossing a railroad bridge when you spot a train coming toward you. The bridge is built over a lake swarming with crocodiles, so jumping into the water is out of the question. How can you survive in this situation? You're farther away from the shore you came from and won't have enough time to get back to that side. So your only option is to run toward the train really fast and turn left or right when you cross the bridge. Jack is taking part in a challenge. He's reached the final stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. There are 4 pots in front of him. In each of them, there's a key. Jack needs to get any key from any pot. But on top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl, covering the fourth pot. Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put the fire out with sand. He's in the desert after all, and get the key. David's company develops apps for smartphones. Right now, he's looking for a designer. He's got hundreds of resumes, but he's chosen just 3 of them. Angela's resume says, "I'm 23 years old, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm a fast learner and have already designed similar applications." Helen wrote in her resume, "I'm 26 and have 4 years of work experience. You should hire me because I've created lots of TikTok stories that have gone viral." And Eric's resume claims he's 28 years old with 7 years of work experience. He's designed tons of apps, and he's been working for Google since the company was launched. David can only hire one person, but it's okay because one applicant hasn't lied in their resume. Who is it? Eric has just 7 years of work experience, but Google was officially launched in 1998. There are no stories on TikTok, meaning Helen couldn't create them. David hired Angela, even though she hasn't been working for a long time. She's honest and has a nice portfolio.
Look at the pictures. Which of these people is a risk taker? The girl is risking less. She's sitting on the second floor, and there's a pool below. The guy is risking more. The building he's sitting on is taller. You can see clouds and planes in the sky. What food can you never cheer up? A blueberry, because it's always blue. Haha. Okay, let's move on. There are 5 lemons in a bowl. You take away 3 of them. How many lemons do you have now? Well, you have the 3 lemons you took. King Gerald has a very beautiful daughter named Teresa. 4 princes from different countries came to the kingdom, hoping to marry the girl. But the king decided to check how smart they were and organized a special contest. Teresa was in the center of a 200 by 200 foot room, and the princes were standing on small boxes in each corner of the room. The first prince to touch Teresa's hand would become her husband, but they weren't allowed to leave their places or use anything but their hands or wits. One of the princes figured out what to do immediately. He married the princess. What did he do? He just asked Teresa to come over and touched her hand. You can easily find me on Earth, Mars, Mercury, and even Jupiter, but you'll never find me on the Moon, Venus, or Pluto. What am I? I'm the letter R. Manager George received an anonymous text message. It said a robber had just entered the supermarket where he worked. George hurried into the hall and saw 4 pregnant women in the grocery section. The man looked at the ladies attentively, detected the thief, and called the police. How did he know? The woman on the right is the only one who doesn't have a shopping basket or cart. She's putting groceries inside her fake belly. Imagine that you're in a room with no windows and no doors. How can you get out? Just stop imagining the room. Mrs. Victoria decided to give her grandson Rick an unusual gift for his 18th birthday. She called him into her room, showed the guy her safe, and handed him a corked bottle with a key inside.
Honey, this is the key to my safe. You can keep all the money you find there if you manage to open it, but you must take the key out without removing the cork or breaking the bottle. Good luck.
Rick accepted the challenge and started thinking about the puzzle. What would you do to get the key out? Push the cork into the bottle, and you'll easily get the key. Look at the picture. What's wrong here? The lady's reflection is holding the bag in the wrong hand. Amy had a crush on her neighbor. She went to the local witch, Sally, to ask for her help. Sally said she would make a purple love potion. On the night of the full moon, Sally took a sheet of paper with her granny's love potion recipe. She mixed all the ingredients except for the last one. Suddenly, a gust of wind threw the recipe into the fireplace. Sally was desperate. She didn't remember the name of the last ingredient, but she still knew for sure that the potion should be purple. Help Sally finish her work. She should add the blue ingredient. When you mix blue and red, they make purple. Harry and 3 other video bloggers traveled to a creepy canyon. They wanted to make a video about this mysterious place. They had been filming all day long. In the evening, they gathered around the fire, but it started to rain and everyone went to sleep in their tents. In the morning, Harry woke up, left his tent, and headed to the big bag with food to grab something for breakfast. That's when he discovered that all the food was gone. Harry got angry. He woke everyone up and interrogated the members of his team. Fred said he'd been looking at the starry sky all night. Jane said she'd been trying to catch a Wi-Fi signal to have a video chat with her boyfriend. And Sam said he'd been sleeping. Who is lying? It's Fred. It was raining at night, and he couldn't see any stars through the clouds. 2 students, Betty and Sarah, went for a walk after a very stressful test. They bought some coffee and candies and began to look for a picturesque spot for a picnic in the park. But suddenly, a guy in a mask grabbed Betty's bag and ran away. Sarah and Betty followed him. At one point, they saw a blind man sitting on a bench. He was wearing glasses and had a cane. The girls asked him if he'd seen a person in a mask carrying a female bag, but the man said he couldn't have seen anyone because he was blind. Sarah got very embarrassed, handed him a candy, and thanked him for his help. Then the girl took Betty aside and whispered that the blind man was the robber. They needed to call the police. Betty was very surprised. Why did Sarah decide the man was the robber? If the man was indeed blind, he wouldn't have seen the candy. Will's mother has 3 sons, Fred, Peter, and... Will. It's Will's mother, after all.
The guys reached their destination. The treehouse is even better than in the photo, but can you spot anything weird in this picture? This raccoon is wearing sunglasses. The owner of the treehouse, Bob, lives in another country, and the house is located 15 miles away from the village and other people. That's why Bob installed a special digital clock on the door. When Henry booked the property, Bob gave him a 6-digit password. But unfortunately, Henry had lost it. Here's a hint. M80. Can you help the guy crack the code? These symbols are mirrored digits. Split them apart and you'll get the code 1133CC. The guys unlocked the door. But as soon as Mia entered the living room, she got very scared. She asked Henry to call the police. Why? The treehouse is in the middle of nowhere. Who lit the candles and the fire? The house was locked. Henry checked all the rooms, but found no clues. What about you? Any ideas who that could be? That roof window is open. Someone crawled inside the house before the guy's arrival, and now that someone is hiding under the bed. See? The guys called the police. Officers promised to arrive within an hour. Mia decided to take a shower. When she returned to the living room, she realized that Henry had disappeared. Mia searched the garden, then checked all the rooms in the house, and returned to the garden again. But she failed to find any clues. Can you help her? The hot tub was open when Mia began her search, but now it's closed. Pretty suspicious. Mia was walking through the garden. Suddenly, a man in a mask popped out of nowhere and pushed her. Mia stepped on a trap and fell into a deep well. She yelled, "Please help me out!" No one answered, but Mia's phone pinged. The masked man offered her to play a game. Otherwise, she'd have to stay in the well forever. Here's the first riddle. I come in many different colors, and I get bigger when I'm full. I will float away if you don't tie me down, and I will make a loud sound if I break. What am I? Mia nailed it immediately. What about you? The correct answer is a balloon. Here's the second question. I can jump and I can climb. With many legs, I swing from tree to tree. I can make a house much bigger than me. What am I? Have you guessed? It's a spider. And the final question. I come out at night without being called. I'm lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? Can you help Mia? The correct answer is a star. A hatch opened at the bottom of the well. Mia went through it and got into a creepy basement. There, she found 3 ways to freedom, but every door hid some danger. A fire-breathing dragon was sleeping behind the first door. The corridor behind the second door was filled with high-voltage wires. And a vampire was waiting behind the third door. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen of the girl's phone. Hurry up! Soon the walls will close in and smash you. Which way should Mia choose? She should wait until the walls are close enough so that she can scare the vampires away with this stake and go through the third door. When the police arrived at the treehouse, they found Mia and Henry at the porch. Henry had just woken up. The robbers had put sleeping pills in his coffee. The officers searched the area and found some clues. They concluded that the criminals were planning to leave the country by train. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was, so they stopped 4 suspicious people at the railway station and examined their baggage. Can you figure out who's innocent? Why would a bald man need shampoo? And this supposedly blind person has a flashlight. This guy is carrying 3 tubes of toothpaste, but no single toothbrush. It seems that only the third guy isn't a criminal. 3 friends lived not far from one another and often met to drink some coffee together. Their names were Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White. One day, they noticed that under their coats, they were wearing t-shirts of different colors: red, blue, and white. Mr. Blue said, "Hey, Mr. White, have you noticed that we're all wearing colors that are different from our actual names?" The man wearing the white shirt answered, "Wow, you're right." Can you figure out the shirt of which color each of them was wearing? Mr. Blue can only be wearing white or red, but we've already learned that someone else is wearing the white shirt. That means that Mr. Blue can only be wearing the red shirt, and Mr. White can only be wearing a blue or red shirt. And the red shirt is already taken, so Mr. White is wearing the blue shirt. Then Mr. Red is wearing the white shirt.